On your LinkedIn profile, you actually describe yourself as a recovering founder, which I guess it's your temporary identity, right? While you're figuring out where you will be. How is that recovery going so far?
Yeah, recovery wise, I mean, when you say recovery, I think it can mean different things, right? It's not just like a PTSD kind of thing necessarily. It's also like unwinding your brain, unwiring your brain in a certain way, because when you're working on a specific project for a long time, like your brain is like really wired to, to that specific project.
Yeah.
It's like you're going super deep and super narrow. So then it takes a certain amount of time to kind of get out of that and unwind yourself so that your brain can be more flexible and then can receive other things. So I think to do that, you need a little bit of time. And that's part of the reason why I wanted to take some time off and then just kind of do nothing so that my brain can be like unwound a little bit.
This is very wise, and I'm
Yeah.
so happy to hear that you're doing it, because I see so many people who are just being carried by this momentum, and they jump into some other activity and they make long-term commitments without letting themselves heal and rest and recover and prepare for the next stage. So it's wonderful that you're doing it.
Yeah, I think it's like athletes too, right? Athletes, when they finish like a race, then like they have adrenaline and they're like still like pumped up, right? So then, they're like, hey, what do I do next? And then like some people, it's like a triathlon, right? Like you finish one thing and then like you immediately start the another thing.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, for me, I made a conscious choice to take some time off, partly because I realized I never took any time off. I mean, in my case, it's one of those cases where like you finish the deal, like you close the deal on Friday, and then the next like Monday you start working on this new project. So like for me, it was lucky in a sense because everything kind of continued, right? So I was lucky in that sense. But then in the meantime, I didn't have any chance to like take some meaningful amount of time off. So I really, wanted to take some time off. And the other thing I'm also realizing is, for me, like the fact that we got acquired by this big company and then had a little bit of work experience at the big company. Of course, there has been those like frictions here and there, but for the most part, that was a blessing because I realized when I see some other entrepreneurs who sold their companies to not just like big companies, another big company, but like private equity firms or some other circumstances where you are like going from like 100 to zero like the next day. I've seen some cases where like the founders have to leave their company like tomorrow and then not like carry anything. So like that's such a great momentum shift. And for those founders, the identity crisis and it's like it's more pronounced.
And again, this whole healing and resting and traveling and expanding our horizons, I think it's just so important because we need to accumulate our energy first before we channel it somewhere.
My other theory is, you can't really put a deadline on soul searching. I mean, it's just very difficult. Like a lot of people, I mean, going back to the dating analogy, right? Nobody goes out there and then say, hey, I want to get married by a certain day, certain time. I mean, it should be the other way around. I mean, you don't think about the marriage necessarily, but if you find the love and then like, then one thing leads to another, and naturally the outcome happens. So you really cannot put deadline on soul searching. So, but what you do is you kind of like, wait for the right moment until the voice comes finds you. And the other day, somebody was telling me about the story of how like Newton, Einstein, like a lot of these scientists found the fundamental like the breakthrough theories when they are resting.
Yeah.
So like Newton, the apple falling from the tree. I mean, like that story actually tells you that Newton was sitting under the tree, which means that he was taking a rest.
Like
But then
Buddha.
if he was like sitting under the tree, yeah, exactly. So like if he was sitting under the tree for 10 years, did he find the gravity? Probably not, right? Or like if he was in the lab the whole time, not sleeping, not eating, just thinking about the gravity, he probably wouldn't have been able to find the gravity either. So it'll have to be some sort of combination of like hard thinking and taking yourself out of it a little bit, taking a step back, taking a little rest. So you have to kind of get into the rhythm of like hard thinking. You still have to put in the work. I mean, you can't expect to find the great, truths without putting in the work first. So you have to kind of find the balance between putting the work and then sometimes taking a step back.
No, I absolutely agree with you. We need to create time and space for it first, and then actually do the work of thinking and maybe get bored. Because my observation is most people are so scared of facing their internal demons and so reluctant to do the work that what they do is either they just get very, very busy and tell themselves a story of why it's very important and how they already found their purpose and meaning and everything, or they accept some kind of memes, that's popular kind of band-aids, theories that other people seem to believe in, and then they put them as labels on their foreheads and they say, okay, I figured this out, this is my answer. But I think below the surface, what it is just this fear and reluctance to do the work, because our brain naturally resists a change and resists doing hard work if it can avoid it.
Yeah, even like simple questions like, what do you want to do in life? I mean, that's like the biggest, the most like difficult question ever. You're right, absolutely right. Some people might be like giving their surface level answer, and then they never had a chance to kind of go deep into, inside themselves, and then they think that, hey, like this surface level answer is what I like, but then they never had an exercise where they're like facing themselves and then like kind of going deep into them.